The Bucks take on the Magic in Game 3 of this first round playoff series, and that's going to be a 1 p.m. Eastern tip-off. Series all knotted up at 1 apiece. The Bucks are the 12.5-point favorite, totals 233 and a hook. The Magic are plus $6 for another upset win. And if you like Orlando to cover, they're minus $1.10, catching the 12.5. I'm 4-0 in my last 4 NBA tier package plays on patreon.com/BrockPage. I'm also 2-0 in my last 2 MLB tier package plays on that site as well. For more information on how you can access these exclusive premium selections, the link for that site is in the description section below. That's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now the Bucks are coming off a nice 15-point victory over the Magic in Game 2. They scored nearly 40 points in the second quarter alone. The Bucks are winning nearly 70% of their games away from their home court. And yes, the bubble is indeed away from their home court. The Bucks have also covered in 7 out of their last 10 head-to-head meetings with the Magic. Milwaukee's in the top 3 in scoring, top 3 in offensive rebounding. They are also averaging nearly 119 points per contest for the entire season. Giannis Antetokounmpo is averaging 30 a game in this series, 19 rebounds, 6 assists. Eric Bledsoe is also averaging 14 a game in this series, along with 6 assists and a block. And Brook Lopez also finds himself scoring 13 a game in the postseason, 4 rebounds, 1 steal. The Bucks are in the top 3 in offensive field goal percentage, top 10 in fewest points allowed. They're 5-1 straight up in their last 6 with Orlando. They've won 15 out of their last 20 conference games. They're in the top 3 in scoring away from home, top 3 in offensive rebounding away from home as well. They're taking on a Brooklyn squad who's still going to work. An Orlando squad who's going to work without Al-Farouq Aminu, Jonathan Isaac, and Mo Bamba. Aaron Gordon's still listed as questionable, and Michael Carter-Williams has been downgraded to doubtful. The Magic have lost 6 out of their last 8 ball games and averaged just 103 points per game in those losses. Orlando's won less than 25% of their games as the underdog, and they rank in the bottom 10 in scoring. Orlando once again has covered the number in just 3 out of their last 10 meetings with the Bucks. They also rank in the bottom 5 in offensive field goal percentage, bottom 10 in defending the 3-ball. Now total-wise, 3 out of the Magic's last 4 ball games stayed under the total of 233.5. 6 out of their last 8 also stayed under that number as well. Orlando's currently 80% to the under in their last 10 meetings with Milwaukee. And speaking of the Bucks, 4 out of their last 5 contests stayed under the total of 233.5 themselves. Give me the Bucks laying the points and the under 233.5 in that game. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the video. Got some lines and personal leans out for Saturday's NBA playoff basketball action. Happy Saturday to you. The weekend's finally here. Hopefully you guys are not too hungover here today. But if you are, no big deal. You got a lot of basketball to watch here today. And speaking of which, we are 4-0 in our last 4 NBA tier package plays on patreon.com/BrockPage. We're also 2-0 in our last 2 MLB tier package plays on that site as well. If you want some more information about that, link for that site is in the description section below. That's patreon.com/BrockPage. And moving on, we're going to take a look at the Pacers Heat Game 3 of this best of 7 series. 3:30 p.m. Eastern start time. Miami's up 2-0 in the series. They're also minus 5.5, total 213. If you like the Pacers to cover the number here, they're minus $1.10, catching the 5.5. The Pacers have lost 4 out of their last 7, and they average just 98 points per contest in those defeats. Indiana also lost games 1 and 2 of this series by an average of 10.5 points. The Pacers are still going to work without Lamb and Sabonis. They've also failed to cover the point spread in 5 out of their last 7. Indiana ranks in the bottom 10 in scoring on average per game, bottom 5 in offensive rebounding. They're winning just 40% of their games when catching plus money, and they dropped 5 out of their last 6 head-to-head meetings with Miami. The Pacers are averaging just 107 points per contest away from their home court, and they rank in the bottom 5 in offensive rebounding away from home. They're taking on a Miami squad who's currently winning nearly 75% of their games when laying the juice. They also rank in the top 10 in offensive field goal percentage, top 3 in shooting the 3-ball. Jimmy Butler's averaging 23 a night in the series, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. Goran Dragic is also, he's also scoring 22 a game in the postseason with 5 rebounds and 6 assists. And of course, Duncan Robinson is averaging 15 a game in the playoffs, along with 3 rebounds and a steal. The Heat rank in the top 10 in fewest points allowed, top 3 in defensive rebounding. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the scoring in this matchup here, 5 out of Miami's last 8 games got over the total of 213. Miami went 60% to the over for the entire season as well, depending on where you're shopping at. Meanwhile, the Pacers on the other side, they saw 6 out of their last dozen get over the 213 themselves. Give me the Miami Heat minus 5.5 and the over 213 in that contest. Next game, Houston Rockets taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Game 3, 6 p.m. Eastern start time. Rockets up 2-0 in the series. The Rockets are minus 3, totals 222 flat. The Thunder is plus $1.20 for an outright win. And if you like OKC to cover, they're minus $1.18 catching the 3. OKC lost by an average of 14 points in both games 1 and 2 combined. The Thunder also lost 5 out of their last 7. And they gave up nearly 120 points per contest in those 5 defeats. OKC's winning just 43% of their ball games when catching plus money. They also covered the number in just 33% of their games in their last 9 outings. OKC ranks in the bottom 10 in offensive rebounding, bottom 10 in scoring. They've also failed to cover the number in their last 5 straight versus the Western Conference, and they lost 5 out of their last 7 versus the Southwest Division. They're taking on a Houston club who's winning nearly 64% of their contests when favored. They also rank in the top 3 in scoring, top 10 in free throw percentage. You just can't put them to the line. James Harden's averaging 29 a game in the series, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. Eric Gordon's scoring 18 a game along with 4 rebounds and 4 assists in the postseason. And Daniel House Jr. is scoring 14 a night in the playoffs, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Houston's in the top 10 in defending the 3-ball, top 3 in scoring away from their home court. Houston's won 4 out of their last 5 versus the Northwest Division. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the scoring in this one, when it comes to the number, 4 out of Houston's last 6 got over the total of 222. Meanwhile, the Thunder went 67% to the over in their last 6 themselves. Give me the Houston Rockets minus 3 and the over 222 in that contest. Next and final matchup, Lakers, Blazers, Game 3, 8:30 p.m. Eastern tip-off. This series is all tied up at 1 game apiece. The Lakers are the 7.5-point favorite, totals 223 and a hook. The Blazers are plus 270 for an upset win. And if you like the Blazers to cover the 7.5, they're minus $1.10 getting the job done against the number. Now, the Blazers were manhandled in Game 2, 111-88, and that really, if you think about it, that score doesn't truly indicate how dominant that performance was. The Blazers were held to just 19 points in both the first and third quarters, respectively. Blazers will also have to go to work with an injured Dame Lillard, who jammed or dislocated his finger of sorts in Game 2, had to come out of the game. And just a reminder, Ariza, Hood, Collins, and Little are still not playing for the Blazers. Portland ranks in the top 5 in most points allowed per contest, bottom 5 in defensive rebounding. Portland won just 37% of their games away from their home court this season. They're in the bubble today. That's away from their home court. Totally applicable stat. And they also find themselves winning only 27% of their games when catching plus money. They're the underdog today, too, and they're catching plus money. Portland's in the bottom 3 in defending the 3-ball as well. They successfully covered the number in just 42% of their games away from home. Hey, they're away from home today. They're taking on a Lakers team who showed a bigger and faster look in Game 2. They're already winning 72% of their contests when favored. And, they're also winning 75% of their contests away from the Staples Center. They're in the bubble today. They're away from the Staples Center. LA's in the top 3 in offensive field goal percentage, top 10 in offensive rebounding. Anthony Davis averaged 30 points in both games 1 and 2, 11 rebounds, couple of steals, couple of blocks. LeBron James scored 17 a game on average in this series as well. 12 rebounds, 12 assists, and 2 steals. And Kyle Kuzma averaged 11 a game in the postseason thus far, along with a couple of rebounds. The Lake Show is in the top 3 in least points allowed per game, top 3 in defensive rebounding. And when it comes to the total in this one, 4 out of LA's last 7 stayed under the total of 223.5. 10 out of LA's last 14 conference games also stayed under the posted total. So with all that said and done, give me the Lakers laying the points and the under 223.5 in that game. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you sign up for a package today, we'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Saturday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.